I still love this life that I'm living, but I'm still not sure. I'm also wanting to seek more, do more. So I think that's the part that I'm like trying to figure out right now. So yeah, this chapter is really last minute, but I think like the first week or 2 weeks, I think I was in a transition where one, I was probably feeling quite overwhelmed with just the group dynamic. And then two, I was like, honestly, I was actually like journaling about it with like ChatGPT of just like how I was like using my time, because I felt like I was not really being as social as I typically am in previous chapters, and I was like spending more time in my room. And I was like a little bit hard on myself, I think, in the beginning, being like, oh, like I should push myself more and like go spend time with people and build relationships. That's why I'm here. But then I kind of just came to the realization of just like this time in my period is just like a transition period, and there's just a lot more like internal thoughts that I have, and I'm more introspective, or having to be more introspective now. So I kind of just like gave myself grace of just like, okay, just like do whatever you want to do. And the first 2 weeks, I think I was still hanging out with people, but I was definitely more quieter, staying in my room more. And then it was like interesting, because then I feel like suddenly like there was just like some sort of like energy shift, and just naturally I just started coming out more, wanting to spend more time with friends and like meeting people.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice, but I just remember just like when I thought about how I was spending my days, like even just last week versus the week before, I was like, yeah, I'll go on a walk. Yeah, I'll go out for breakfast. And I would go back from breakfast, go on another walk. I would go on a run. I would see people. I would go out for dinner. And it, to me at that time, it didn't, I think when I was doing it the first week or 2 weeks, I felt so drained afterwards. And I think this past week, like I just got more and more energized from it. So it's just like interesting that I've like noticed that, and I'm glad that I was able to experience that, I think, energy shift in the middle of a chapter, and just in general, because it was just like a reminder to me of like, oh, I just need to like rest, recharge, and then I think things will just start flowing more naturally rather than forcing myself to do it. So it's just like a nice reminder of that. So,
what kind of, would you say you're an extroverted person or an introverted person?
I would say I am. I've like taken the test a few times, and I consider myself more introvert, but I think I'm like literally 51% introverted. And sometimes I come out as like 51% extroverted.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why I think I'm more introverted is because I remember when I first started my career, I was working in hospitality, and I was like a very customer-facing job. And it was in New York, and I remember after every single shift, I was so exhausted. Like I fell asleep on the subway every single time on my way back home.
Wow.
I built the strength or the skill of just being able to like wake up right at my stop every single time. I never miss a stop, but I always
You didn't feel
fell asleep.
anxious?
No. I mean, I think the thing is I was just so tired, and I was just like, I literally was just like, I passed out so many times on the subway by myself, which when I look back on, I probably shouldn't have done that. I look at it, I was just like, that was probably not really the smartest thing to do. But then I read this book called, what is it called? Oh, Quiet by Susan Cain. And it kind of just talked about how introverts can succeed in an extroverted world.
Yes.
And reading that book made me realize of like, okay, I'm introverted. Because I think one part that said, it was just like basically saying like, you can still be extroverted, but extroverted in moments and surrounded by friends like that you feel very comfortable with. And when you feel very comfortable, you can still be an extrovert. It's just more, there's situations of like larger group settings or a setting where you're not as comfortable, you might be more introverted, need to recharge. And that was the moment when I was like, okay, yeah, that's me. Like I feel like I can be very outgoing or extroverted when I'm in a very comfortable setting.
Yes.
But if I'm not, then I have to like go in my room and just like
recharge,
yeah.
Do you prefer like one-on-one, or do you prefer a sort of group setting when you're trying to like have a conversation or engage socially?
I think it really varies. For me, I feel like I always prefer smaller group settings.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I really get to know that person. I really get to build the relationship with that one person when it's one-on-one. But I also don't mind when it's like 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. And I think honestly, that was like one of the other things I noticed in this chapter when I first started was I actually didn't really want to be in one-on-one settings.
Yes.
And the reason being was because I think it was still taking so much energy out of me, or
Yeah.
I was so drained after one-on-ones because I still didn't know everyone. But then I still wanted to spend time with people, and I still wanted to get to know people. And that was when I was like, I prefer like settings of like 3 people, myself included, or 4 people, because that way it's not always on me to have to carry the conversation.
Yes.
But we're still able to have a little bit more like deeper, intimate conversations.
Yes, yes.
Whereas like now, again, going back to like the energy shift in the middle of the chapter, I feel like I have been wanting to make more of an effort in terms of having one-on-ones, and I like enjoy it and stuff. So I think that was like another like interesting observation I like learned about myself in this chapter of like, if you had asked me before, I think I would have just said like, I always prefer one-on-ones, but now I think it's just depending on how I'm feeling. It can be one-on-ones, but like to really get to know people, I do prefer of like max 4 people, I guess, in a way.
Yes. So just for the purposes of our conversation, so we can introduce you, or you can introduce yourself to anyone who may be listening or watching. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do?
My name is Hannah. I am from Boston, so I grew up in Boston, but have been full-time traveling for maybe almost 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say it's a long time, but I feel like there's so many people who are like, I've been traveling for 10 years, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then, what was the other question?
What do you do?
I work in hospitality, so I work at a hotel company, and I do pricing strategy for them. And that's what I'm like one of the things I'm very grateful for. I work at the corporate office, and I'm just in a position where I'm able to work remotely and have the flexibility to do that. So, yeah.
Amazing. So we've been together now on this chapter for basically a month in Swakopmund, in Namibia. You, me, and 20 plus something other people.
Yep.
We've had a great time. This isn't your first chapter. So you've had quite an experience of the chapter experience and of Wi-Fi Tribe. From your perspective, having had the experience that you have now, what even is Wi-Fi Tribe?
I don't even know how to describe. It's being able to travel and experience, or like, I would say it's being able to travel with like-minded people and going on, like gaining new experiences, whether that is going on adventures or even just learning more about the culture in the town that we're in, or even just doing something around and just walking around. But I think it's just, the opportunity for us to, while still working remotely, it's just the opportunity just to get I think a group of like-minded people. It's like overall Wi-Fi Tribe is just like a community, and it's just like a bunch of people that you are either friends with, want to be friends with, or know you will be friends with at some point.
Yeah.
And I think just the circle and where we go to just expands literally across the entire world, whereas a community could be a place that's just in one location or one city. And I think one of the things about Wi-Fi Tribe is it's still a community when it comes down to it. It's just expanded globally.
Yes.
So.
And we're on a chapter, and I think a lot of people don't know what a chapter is. So if you were to describe a chapter to like your friends, your family, how would you do that? What would you say?
I tell them it's basically a month-long co-living space, or it's like you work remotely for 1 month in one space, and it's essentially a co-living space. And then I feel like a lot of people are like, what's a co-living space? And I say, it's kind of like, it's kind of like college, but as an adult, you're still working, but then you just live with X number of people. So I tell people of like, I'm in Namibia, I'm doing a chapter here. And then when my mom asked me, I'd be like, she's like, are you gonna be okay? Like,
I was gonna ask you.
She gets so nervous every single time I travel anywhere. And when I told her I was going to Namibia, she was like, Namibia? She was like, where is Namibia? Like, what is Namibia? And I was like, it's in Africa. She was like, Africa? And she was like, are you going by yourself? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, who are you going with? And I was like, well, I'm going with 25 other people. And she's like, well, who are the 25 people? And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, it's 25 people that I will know,
Yes.
but I don't know them. I was
Yes.
like, I'm going to meet all of them on the first day. And they're like, so you're going to just meet 25 people and then you're going to live with them for a month. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Like, so my mom is Indian, and I was talking to Adi about this. Like, I feel like it's an Asian parent thing, where they are like super concerned about,
Oh, yeah.
like your life choices and like what are you doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it helps that I am the youngest of three. So,
Yeah.
like, I am very grateful for that because I think if I was the oldest, seeing my brother, there's no way that he would have been able to, like, my parents would not have given him the choice. I think with me being the youngest at that point, my mom was just like, go do whatever you want. Like, it's fine. Like, she just, like, gave up. But she definitely, like, whenever I do come back home, she'll just, like, sit there and look at me. And she's just like, just find a home already. Like, please. Like, it's funny because I feel like for so long she was like, find someone, get married, have kids. And then when I told her, I was like, Mom, I was like, I'm going to pull all my stuff in storage, give up my home, and just travel. And she was like, well, what about starting a family and meeting someone? I was like, I don't know, I'll figure that out. And she was just like, oh, okay. And then now it's like, it's so funny because I feel like for all three of us, me and my brother, like my parents were always giving pressure of like, you got to meet someone, you got to get married, settle down, have kids. Now my mom's like, just find a home and I will be happy. She's like, just settle. Like, she's like, just find a home base. Like, just have a home.
Yeah.
Because I think, she gets very, especially because I'm the only girl in the family too.
Yeah.
So she gets very nervous. But that's when, like, every once in a while, my dad will, like, text me on the side being like, hey, like, make sure you call or message your mom. Like, depending on which country I'm in, my dad will message me and goes, you have to text Mom, like, every single day just to, like, make sure. So I'll send, like, emoji or pictures. And it's funny because, like, our family chat is, like, my brother sending pictures of his kids and them being like, we went to the park today. And I'm like, I just went out into the dune and a desert and I just saw some cheetahs. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing?
I love that though. What a juxtaposition, and amazing that you've like walked your own path. I think that it's often, you know, we get caught up in like what we should do or like culturally what we're told to do. And it's like, it's amazing when, you know, you in a gentle way are able to step into your own space and own that. I've been very lucky in my life that like my mom has always been supportive of me doing like weird things.
Yeah.
But like my mom's side of the family, my uncles, my aunts, like, you know, they're all traditional Indian people. Like they don't know what I do. You know, that marketing. Like
what's that?
When are you going to get a real job? When are you going to be a doctor or accountant? Or, I'm like, no, never. That's not happening.
Yep.
Love you guys, but like, you know, I got to walk my own path. So I love what you've shared. You know, I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah.
So you've been here with me and everybody else in Namibia. Who would you say that Wi-Fi Tribe is for? Like, what kind of person is the kind of person that would thrive here?
I mean, so like, I feel like I have two answers to that. I think one, it's just for anyone who, is like wanting to find a community and be surrounded by, I want to say like-minded people, but at the same time, not really.
Yeah.
I think all of us, like in the end, we all obviously love to travel. And I think that is one thing that brings all of us together.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I do feel like there's a common theme of a lot of people who do start this journey. It's kind of like, okay, like what sort of, like, did you go through a breakup, divorce, career change? And I think I feel like you said, of just, it's not a common path that there must have been something or some sort of experience that everyone has gone through to help them find this path.
Yeah.
And whatever that is could be so different from one person to another. But I think in the end of just like the amount of effort of just stepping out from the norm and doing this path is not something that I think is easy and comes naturally, and not something that's like, I think, actively out there. So it's not that it came to you for most of us. It's more like you had to go out and work on yourself and figure it out. And eventually you came across Wi-Fi Tribe or the nomad life.
Yeah.
And I think that is one similarity that brings all of us together. But I think one of the things that like I've also really appreciated about Wi-Fi Tribe and just this community, and this is kind of the second part of the answer, is like while it is kind of seeking like-minded people and people who love to travel, at the same time, I feel like it's such an inclusive group of people that like you can be truly whoever you want to be, and you will be accepted, you will be supported, and you will still find someone within the community that you will still be able to connect with on a deeper level. And I think
Yes.
that's one of those things that I've like, it's similar to like what you were saying of, I think, growing up and as like post-college, I noticed that with like me and a lot of my friends that I grew up with, went to college with, my lifestyle and what I was looking for was starting to be different from what they were looking for. And I never was able to like pinpoint it, I guess, in a way. Like in my head, I was just like, oh yeah, well, I guess this is just what it is. Like,
And it happens like a hockey stick. You don't notice it at first, and then one day you wake
Just-
up and you're like,
yeah.
what? They're
Like,
completely
what
different.
happened?
Yeah.
No, 100%. And I think that's just like because of that. And I think the thing is too, is like I at that time didn't know this part of the world or community existed. And so to me, when I started feeling like when I started realizing I was like on a different path, for some time I was just like, well, I guess this is just what my life is. Like, I think this is just how it is. And then to your point, you kind of just reach a point where you wake up and you're just like, this can't be it. Like, there's got to be more to this. Like, I can't do this. And then at that point, when I first started traveling, and like, I didn't even know the term digital nomad. Like, I started traveling, but I was doing it with a friend. And I then met someone, he was like, oh, like, you're a digital nomad. And I was like, I'm a what? And he was like, you're a digital nomad, like someone who works remotely and travels. And I was like, that's a thing? Like, people do that? And he's like, yeah, there's like co-living spaces. So I was like, what? It was just so like mind blowing. And I was so great. Like, I remember when I first started doing this, I was so nervous and I was so anxious
Your hair's
about
just
it.
on your face.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
And yeah, I think that's one of those things I've appreciated. It's just like you can truly be whoever you want to be, and like you will find your people. And I think everyone is just so welcoming and open and understanding of like, there's still similarities, obviously, of like, again, like we all love to travel, but in the end of like, I think every single one of us are like, you can truly be whoever you want to be, do what you want to do, and like we'll still accept you and be curious about you and like want to get to know you more on a deeper level. And I think that's one of those things I've just like really, really enjoyed about this. So.
And so you started this solo travel, this digital nomad journey, traveling with a friend, and then at some point you decided to join Wi-Fi Tribe, or you came across Wi-Fi Tribe. How did it happen for you?
So I first started traveling, it was like coming right out of COVID. And during that time, I was living in Washington, D.C. And things were still shut down. So my friend and I were like, oh, Airbnb is like 30% off for a month long. So we were like, let's just put all our stuff in storage. And then we just basically just bopped around in the US and specifically chose like areas to go hiking. And then I moved to New York for a year, and then that's when I learned more about the digital nomad life and co-living spaces. So then after that, this was the year that was probably a very pivotal moment in my life when you're saying the hockey stick and you wake up, like that's what happened when I was in New York. And then I put all my stuff in storage, I took a break from work, and then after that I was like, I want to travel and work remotely. And so I think maybe for about like a year or 2 years, I was just doing co-living spaces. So I was doing co-living spaces, and actually I think it was like the first or second month actually that I started traveling was the first time that I learned about Wi-Fi Tribe. I had met someone who was a very active member in Wi-Fi Tribe, and he was telling me how he was doing a bunch of chapters and all of that. And I was a little bit hesitant about joining at first because it seemed like from the outside and listening in on it, it seemed like the expectation was that you had to be like social and outgoing and an extrovert.
That's what we expect when people join the cult.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but now you brought up, I was like, this sounds a little bit cultish too. Like, I don't know. So I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like, okay. And then I just like I was just like, I like what I'm doing now. I'm just gonna keep doing co-living spaces.
Yeah.
And then I think there was just a point where there was just a point where I was like, I want to go and explore countries that like I probably wouldn't feel comfortable going by myself. And the other thing too is like, as I was traveling, I was just meeting more and more people from Wi-Fi. Like I was staying in one co-living space, and I remember I was working there, and then all of a sudden like 10 people all just started like appearing, and they were all talking to each other. And it was like, I was there already for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I didn't recognize a single one of them. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they must have all arrived in the last few days. But then the way that they were all talking, I was like, they all seem like they know each other already. And I was like, did they just become like besties in like the first day? And so eventually they were literally all around me. And then I just turned to the person next to me and I was like, hey, I'm just curious. I was like, do you guys all know each other? And he was like, oh yeah, like we are part of Wi-Fi Tribe and we're just here for Day of the Dead and things like that. And so I was like, oh, interesting. So like I was hearing more about it, and then I started looking, and then, yeah, there's just a point where some of the countries that the chapters were in was like, oh, wow, that's a really amazing country that I would love to go to. Yeah, Georgia was one of them. Cusco. I mean, it was the Bolivia chapter that made me decide that I wanted to join. But then by the time I got accepted, it was, La Paz. It got booked, so I was like, okay, darn. So
you can go this year.
I mean, I know, I saw. So I'm hoping to do it this year. But in the end, I'm still so glad that I did it. And I ended up just doing, I was like, I'll just do the Cusco chapter. And that was like such an amazing first, I mean, for me, I was so glad that was my first chapter. And I loved the experience. And I was just like, I remember when I first joined the chapter, I was like, still a little bit cult vibe. And I was like, I'm not really sure. And after I was like, I think I was messaging a friend, I was like, I'm in. I was like, I'm sold. I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this. And she was like, wow. She was like, they really changed you, huh? And I was like, if it's a cult, I'm in. So.
I've surrendered. That's it. You've got me.
Yeah, I was like, take me.
So, side note, this year is the 10th anniversary of Wi-Fi Tribe. The first chapter that we ever did was in La Paz, in Bolivia.
Yeah.
So this year in Bolivia, between you and I and everybody else who deigns to listen to this, will be a very special chapter, because it'll be that full circle moment. 10 years started there, and 10 years later, we'll be there for that period of time. So if you can, there'll be some special feeling for that chapter for sure.
I know, I'm hoping. I saw the channel that Diego had created, and I was like, oh, there's already quite a few people. And I know people are talking about it in this chapter and outside the chapter. I know there's friends who be like, Bolivia's up, like, go vote. And I was just like, I hope I can join, but it seems like it's going to be
it's going to be competitive for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there anything we can do to...
ask for some favors, you know.
Here's a smoothie.
No, I wish it worked that way, but unfortunately,
I know.
You know, we've got to be.
I think someone had already asked, and he was just like, no.
Yeah, he's really like, you know, honest, which is amazing. Beautiful, beautiful leader. So why are you here? Like, why Namibia? It's such a random place.
I know, it is. It's, I mean, I think it's just, how do I even, for me, how I select my chapters is if it's a country that I would love to go to and a place I would go, like I would feel more comfortable if I was going with a group of people. And it honestly also comes down to like the weekend trips of like, what are the weekend trips and things like that.
This is the ultimate. Yeah.
So I feel like everyone that I've been talking to, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I also got influenced when people were like, Namibia chapter is like one of the top ones. It's so hard to get into. And I'm like, oh, like something must be really good about it. Like I gotta join at some point. So it was like a very last minute decision. But yeah, I mean, I think it's, for like Cusco and Georgia and Namibia, it's all chapters that in the end of like, it's still being able to go with a group of people, meet people, but then to me, it's also just being able to go on these adventurous trips and just new experiences that I wouldn't be able to get if I were still traveling on my own.
Yeah.
And this is my first time in like South Africa. Actually, I think the only other part, like last year I went to Africa, but I was in Marrakesh, Morocco. So I also wanted to, I wanted to go to Cape Town. I wanted to experience.
You got to come.
So I know, I'm excited. So yeah, in the end, that was kind of the reason why I chose this chapter, and probably the same reason as to why I'll choose like future chapters too. My only hesitation again was like, it's a large group, and I not told myself, but I think when I was thinking about chapters, I do prefer smaller group settings. But then I was like, Namibia, I was like, it just feels like it's a chapter you got to do and a place you got to go. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I was like, whatever it is. So, yeah.
It is a bucket list chapter, you know, for any member. Namibia is like a once in a lifetime experience. It is unreal.
Yeah.
And I was listening to you talk about like your journey, you know, when you moved to New York and then you started bouncing around to different Airbnbs around the US with your friend. And you said that you went specifically to places you could do cool hikes.
Yeah.
So, you know, that told me everything I need to know. I mean, this place must have been like a dream for you with all the nature.
Oh my God, I loved it. Yeah. I think it's like, that's like one other thing I've noticed is when I first started traveling, to me, the priority and the reason why I was wanting to travel was the people that I was meeting. Like, honestly, it was less so the country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was still so grateful to be able to experience so many new countries, but to me, it was like, I want to be able to find a community and build relationships and connect with people.
Yes.
And so I remember I was like, I'm not gonna lie, like I was in Mexico City and there's so much to do in Mexico City, but I intentionally was just like, I want to go out for dinner with these group of people. And instead of like, to me, it was just like, I'll do whatever the group wants to do because I want to just spend time with them and meeting them.
Yeah.
And then I think after just traveling, like maybe after 2 years, there was just a point where I was like, okay, I still love that part, but now I want more.
Yeah.
And that was when, okay, now I value the new experiences and the exploring. And I think that's why one of the things that I've really appreciated about Wi-Fi Tribe is like, you get to have both. Like you still get to have community and you still get to explore. And those are two of my values. And that's just like, I think that's one of those things I'm just like, I really like about Wi-Fi Tribe is like, yeah, you can choose your own adventure and you can choose based on like what you're looking for at that time.
Yeah.
And so like to your point, that's kind of like the types of countries and chapters that I want to join. And there's still so many.
You would love Cape Town.
I know. I'm
You would
excited.
love the amount of things, the adventures you can do, nature, city, animals, etc. in Cape Town. It's similar to Swakopmund. It doesn't have that sort of extreme feel. Swakopmund, Namibia has this like extreme feel because it's the desert.
Yeah.
It's like so stark and desolate and harsh, but so beautiful at the same time. You touched on weekend trips and like what was possible. I'm curious to know from you what weekend trips we did while we were here, where we went, what we got up to, what it felt like. Take me through from weekend 1, 2, 3.
Wow, it's like it went by so quickly. The first weekend was the weekend when we were all arriving. So I think that was just really getting to know each other. We were just getting together. The one adventure I think we did on that was doing sand dunes and, going to the sand dunes and people went sandboarding and ATVs. I actually skipped out on that one because I had to go recharge. So I was like, this will be an adventure that I will just let go. And then the weekend after that was our first main trip. So we went to Palmavog, which was, that's where, is it a private
Yeah, it's
reserve?
a private reserve, yeah.
Very long drive.
Super long.
Yeah, I think longer than all of us expected, but it was incredible. I think I've never been on a safari before or done any like game drives of any sort. So that was just such a cool experience to be able to do that. I did rhino tracking in the morning, which
Oh yeah, you did that.
was incredible. We had a rhino charge at us and I might have squealed, so you'll see that in some of the videos. I was like, oh, and I like moved backwards. And
They're huge,
oh my God, they were so, and it was like, it was like full on charging at us, and I was in the front, so I was like, if anything happens, like I'm out. But that was like such an incredible experience. And then I went on the evening drive. It was like sunsets. We saw like giraffes, zebras, a lot of springboks. So it was just like, it was such a cool experience. And especially like, even when we were driving there, I remember Alyssa kept on me like, we have to look for animals. We have to look for animals. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, we're going to see them later. But then we like saw a giraffe that was on the side of the road. And I was like, oh my God, like this is truly, you can't even like describe the experience. Like, you just have to experience it yourself, which was like, it was amazing. It was so
In
cool.
the jungle, na-na-na-na-na.
I was like, oh my God. So that was the first weekend. And then the second weekend we did Spitzkoppe, which, it was a little bit sad because that's supposed to be like one of the places that the stargazing, and it's going to like, I think it's one of the best places to stargaze, but unfortunately it was a little bit cloudy. So we didn't really get to see that many stars, but Palmvog, we saw the Milky Way, which that honestly was actually probably one of my favorite parts of this month. I think it was just like, I knew that it was going to be beautiful, but then to just really see it in real life and just experience it was like
Unreal.
amazing. Yeah, I think about that and I was just like, that I am so grateful we got to experience that weekend. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to experience it on the trip that we were really supposed to experience it, but the rock formations, I think we went to a rock pool, the rock arch was so cool. It was definitely really, really hot during the day, which was a little rough.
It was a bit unbearable, hey?
Yeah, I was like, oh, we are really out in the desert. But that was cool, and it was nice. It was just like a one-night trip, so we got to kind of recharge after that.
Yeah.
And then this past weekend was, I feel like the big main event was Sossusvlei, and so that's where we went to
Dune 45?
Yeah, Dune 45. Deadvlei was incredible. The campgrounds that we stayed at Bushman's was also amazing. I think just hearing Bozeman, the person who owns that, right? Just like hearing his like stories, his storytelling and him just talking about like what it's like to grow up there, what it's like to live there, and talking about the history of the Bushman people I just think was just like such an amazing experience. I'm not gonna lie, there was points when he kept on saying it too many times of like, you would not be able to survive if you were all together with 20 Cent. He was like, you can only survive in groups of 3. And then I feel like throughout the entire time he was like, don't eat the lizard cooked, you must eat it raw. Or he's like, here's the poop that you must eat. And he's like, this bone, you can also eat it. And I was like, what is happening? And then he was like, there's going to be a show at 6 p.m. before dinner. And I was like, that's it. I was like, he's going to turn this into a game and it's going to be survival of the fittest. And we're all going to have to break up into groups of 3. And I was like, that's the show. I was like, that is what's going to happen. And I was like nudging Brian. I was like, I don't know if we're coming out of this campsite alive.
Do you want to play a game?
I was like, this could be a horror movie.
Yeah.
If it really was. But it was such a cool experience. And yeah, I guess that was just only a few days ago.
Yeah.
And we came right back and then did Sandwich Harbor the very next day, which I was like, I remember over the weekend, as we were climbing all the dunes, so many people were like, yeah, I think I'm done with dunes for a while now. And then it came to me, I was like, oh my God, we're going to Sandwich Harbor to go see more dunes. And I was like, I hope people still, because I was planning that trip, so I felt like I was like, oh, I hope people still have like a good time, or it's like still a good experience. And it was amazing. I'm so glad that, I think everyone was like, wow, I'm so glad that we went. But I think going into it, we're all just like, oh my God, another dune. Like,
More
I think we
dunes.
need to see more.
Yeah. Were you on the boat trip we did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? How was that?
That was an experience. The water was very rocky, and the boat was, I'm pretty certain the front of the boat like slammed into the water a few times. It was very cold, and yeah, it was very rocky. I remember some of us were sitting inside drinking bubbles and oysters, and I was getting I think I was like definitely getting motion sickness from being inside.
So there was, I'm not gonna lie, at the beginning I was like, I don't know if this was a smart idea. But then it ended up being so, like, it was so much fun because I think it turned into like a dance party. Ben played a great playlist. So we were all just in the, I guess, the center of the boat, just like dancing. And that
Singing.
was so much fun. You know, we were singing. I know some of you guys were out in the front. And it sounded like, from the back and just hearing your screams, it sounded like you guys were on a roller coaster. And I was like, I feel like we're at an amusement park right now. Like you could just hear it be like, woo! It was like silence. It was like, ah! And I was like, yeah, we're on a ride right now.
That's what it felt like, yeah.
Part of me wished I could join, but then the other part of me was just like, I would have been so cold. I don't know how you guys did it.
It was
very
freezing.
impressed. Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable.
Because you guys were like soaking wet when
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys got to the back.
Absolutely wet, yep. Adi. Adi was
He was like shivering. I was like, oh my God. I was like, are you okay?
I can't believe he decided to go on a boat at night wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah, I think it was funny because I feel like a lot of us were like, oh yeah, bubbles, oysters, like this is gonna be a nice boat ride with the sunset. And we're like, oh, it's gonna be such a vibe. And I feel like a lot of us dressed up for like boat vibes.
Yep,
And then I
yep.
remember you and Celine came in or showed up wearing like
Jackets.
down jackets, like like, and I was like, oh wow, they're not here for a boat ride.
At all.
You guys knew what to
Yeah.
expect.
Are there any kind of core memories for you from this that you'll look back on like in 10, 15 years time and you'll be like, damn, that was amazing?
I feel like there's so many. I would say the stargazing the first weekend, and I think specifically of when some of us did breathwork
Yes.
under the stars, which was incredible.
What's Alexandra?
Yeah, with Alexandra. Oh, when we went on top of the car roof to do breath work. And I'm glad we did it because then that kind of brought the theme of like, we would come up here on the rooftop and do some breath work too, which was really nice. But that is a core memory. The rhino tracking was also another core memory. I would say the dance party on the boat, honestly, is a core memory. And then just this weekend trip and just learning so much more about the desert and like learning more, so much, seeing deadfly and just like all the trees. I felt like I was like in an art museum. It was so beautiful. And then also the tour that we did with Bozeman and just hearing more about just his life and how to survive out in the desert, I guess, or how to live in the desert, I should say. I think, yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable. What was the moment on this trip where you felt the strongest sense of community?
Trying to think. I mean, I feel like there were so many moments. Honestly, I don't even know if it was like a big moment that made me feel that sense of community. I think it was actually more of like the small things that kind of just all built up. I actually think it's more of just like I know like we've done skill shares, we had dance parties, a bunch of us went out for dinners and lunches, but I think it's more of like the small things of like, honestly, even just recently with our hotel, us just talking across all floors and stuff. Like I think it's actually more, it's more the spontaneous moments, I think, that reminded me of just like the community rather than like the organized things of just like the spontaneous things of, yeah, just like running into someone and just like having a conversation. I would say also, honestly, like us working on that puzzle that I was so determined to finish and there's no way we're gonna be able to finish. It's like I would go out and do that puzzle and then others would join. Some people would come in and out. And then I remember we were missing a side piece as Alyssa was like, I would just want my side piece. And so like, it's just like things like that. Like, it's just like those small moments throughout the month that reminded me of just like, oh wow, like I am surrounded by so many great people. So yeah, it's hard to come up with like a particular one. I think also just like the walks along the beach has been really nice. And I think it's also just you can choose to do something on your own if you want to, but then if you don't, you can always just send a Slack message and someone will join. I honestly, actually, one other moment was like when I went to Sorella's and we started off with like 2 people, and then more and more people kept on coming, and then people were leaving. So it's just kind of, again, just like the unplanned parts of the month that made me feel like that, yeah, like reminded me of the community.
Yeah, it's been an amazing month from that perspective. There's so many micro moments. Do you have any future plans with Tribers? Are you traveling anywhere in between chapters?
So I'm gonna go to Cape Town, where there's gonna be quite a few people
I'll see
coming
you
from
there.
this chapter, which is amazing. You will be there, and then some people that I met from previous chapters will also be there. So I'm excited to see them.
Yep.
In terms of future chapters, I don't have any planned. I know I definitely want to do at least like 1 or 2 more. I think it's just a matter of like which. So like Bolivia, I would like to do. I know me, Alyssa, and Sarah. I was like, because I feel like throughout the month I was like, oh, like what chapter's gonna do? And I was like, there's so many that I want to do, but there's none that I'm like, I will be on this chapter. Because I think I was like, I will enjoy whichever chapter that I am on.
Yeah.
And then I think there's one moment when me, Alyssa, and Sarah, we were on a walk, and then we're like, oh, we should do another chapter together. And one of the chapters I think I've always wanted to do was the Dahab chapter.
Oh, it's amazing.
I've heard such great things about it.
It's amazing.
So I think Alyssa brought that up, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, let's do that one. I was like, okay. I decided, I was like, all 3 of us, we're gonna do that one.
You should ask Anna about it. She's done it.
Oh yeah, she meant, yeah, I think Alyssa asked her about it. And it's like, it just seems like, again, aligned with like the types of chapters that I'm looking for. And that was a moment I was like so excited, and just like throughout the day and then the days after that, I was like, guys, I'm so excited for us to be doing this chapter together. And then it was sad because then it's not posted online, and then we just assumed, it was like, well, it happens every year, like it's fine. And then we asked Diego, and Diego was like, oh, it's not gonna happen this year because the Oman chapter. And I was like, no. So now I'm shifting mindset and being like, okay, maybe do the Oman chapter when that gets posted. So we'll see. But yeah, I know I definitely want to do 1 or 2 more. It's just a matter of like which ones.
He's very specific about the chapters that he selects. So, Bolivia is obviously, we actually stay in his childhood home in Bolivia. And he lived for a few years as a child in Oman, which is why we do a chapter there. Oh. So he knows it really well. It's been planned out. We know what the weekend trips look like, what's available.
Yeah. So this was the previous chapter that was done before.
Yeah. And he actually lived there as a kid, which is the reason he wanted to do.
I see. Oh, that's so cool.
A chat, because it is kind of a random.
It is kind of random. I was like, oh, that's random. And then I was like, well, I guess there are a lot of other random chapters that happen.
Yeah.
But that's so, I did not know that part. So, yeah. That makes me want to do it more. Maybe I'll, tell Alyssa, Sarah, we're now going to be doing that one, so.
What's a belief that you have, like about life or about work, that you feel many tribers share?
I feel like there's so many, but the first one that immediately came to my mind, and honestly, it might be more of like what my belief is now, but more of just like, everything will be okay. Like no matter what happens, everything is going to be okay. I feel like there's so many times just with traveling, especially of like, there's unexpected situations that happen. I know even on this month, there's times when we almost ran out of gas and we were trying to figure that out. Tires got deflated. And I think in the end of just like, there's going to be so many times when unexpected situations happen. There's also going to be so many times when just your next step or the direction you're going towards in terms of just in life, whether it's in personal or career, is uncertain. Yep. And I think, and this is like one of those things that like I'm so grateful to have realized too, is just no matter what happens, in the end, like everything is going to be okay. And with that, when you know and you have that feeling of just like trusting the process and believing in yourself and knowing that of like, yes, it sucks, but I'm gonna be okay, then it kind of just gives you this freedom to just be so like
present and enjoy the beach and
Yeah.
wherever we're at right now. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things that also was like a nice reminder coming on this chapter of like, of just everything's going to be okay, and just be present and enjoy where you are at, the people that you're surrounded by, and yeah.
Who are the people that you are surrounded by?
Such amazing, amazing people. I'm going to miss all of them. I can't believe this chapter is coming to an end. Well, it hasn't really hit me yet, so we'll see how I feel in a couple of days. But yeah, just and some of us have talked about this too, of like, for such a large group, it is amazing how every single person on this chapter are so kind and supportive, and has just been so like, I don't even know how else to describe it. Just everyone has just been so nice and so kind and so easy to get along with. And I think that's one of the things I've appreciated is just like, I would want to have a one-on-one dinner with anyone that's in this chapter. And I feel like that is not easy to come across, just in general when you're surrounded by 30 people. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people, before they join Wi-Fi Tribe or they see the idea of a chapter, they've maybe started to wrap their head around what that means, have a sense of trepidation or a fear that they might not have as much personal agency as they would like to have when they arrive. How would you describe, you've been on a few chapters now, how would you describe the day-to-day life experience of being on chapter? What does that look like?
I mean, that's also like how I felt probably going. Like, I think I went in feeling like there was an expectation of like you having to participate in everything and saying yes to everything. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to do that. I think one of the things that I'm very appreciative coming into this is the day-to-day life is just really up to you and how you want to spend your day. And that depends in terms of like the phase of life that you're in. That could also depend with the people that you're surrounded by. But in the end, I think that's one of those things that I really appreciated is that, because to me, like routine is still very important. I need to make coffee every single morning. Hence my French press that I travel with.
I love that it even has your name on it.
Oh, there's so much story behind this later. But I think that's one of those things is like, the weekend trips are jam-packed and there's so much going on.
Yes.
And then the weekdays though, like we're all still working. And I think that's one of the other things I've appreciated is like, I feel like everyone traveling and in Wi-Fi Tribe still cares about the work that they're doing and still needs to work. And so there's sometimes when there's people who are like, have the flexibility to do whatever they want and just be out and about all the time. And then there's people who want to use this time to focus and get stuff done. And I think it's really up to you in terms of like how you want to spend the day. And I think that's one of those things too, is like for me, beginning of this chapter, I had to use the weekdays to recharge. So like as soon as we got back here, I was like, I want to just be by myself for a period of time and just like get into a routine and get into a more like stable headspace and recharge. And for me, that just meant of like reading a lot. And so I wasn't really going out to eat with friends. I wasn't really going on walks and stuff. And then again, going back to the second half of the chapter is like, okay, now my recharge is spending time with these people. So then it's funny because I feel like I read so much this first 2 weeks, and I have made zero progress in terms of the book that I'm reading right now. So I think that's, it's just, it really comes down to like how you want to spend the day. And I think that's one of the things that like I'm glad. And the other part is I feel like everyone is so supportive again of how you want to spend your day. Of like when I told Diego that I, in the end, didn't want to go sandboarding or on the ATV tour, he was like, absolutely, like do what you need to do to like recharge or do what you need to do or what you want to do. And if that's not doing that, like that's totally okay. So I think there's a part of just like getting the reassurance from others being like, no, like it's totally understandable. And I think Even before traveling, I think there was always times when I was probably putting on too much pressure of like, oh, I committed to this. I have to join, even though I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like with this group of people, it's kind of like, if you had committed to dinner plans, but there's a large group going, it is okay if you last minute say, hey, I actually don't think I can make it, but you guys have a great time and I'll see you guys afterwards, or maybe we go out for dinner again tomorrow. And everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's like, you do you do what you need to do, we'll hang out again another time, and that's okay.
What surprised you most about Swakopmund?
I did not realize how German it was going to be.
It's super German, right?
Super German. Yeah. I remember when I was like, when the person who was driving me from the airport was dropping me off, and he was telling, because I was like, he was telling me, he was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of Germans. And I didn't really I didn't realize to the extent. He just said, oh yeah, there's a lot of Germans. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And then as we were driving in Swakopmund, he's like, see, he's like, German. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then now as I've been like walking around and going into restaurants and seeing what types of restaurants there are and the languages, like the signs and stuff, I'm like, oh wow, like this place is really German. And so I think that's been really interesting of like, I've been really curious about like learning the history about this town. And it's also, I mean, I really appreciated like our conversation when you were giving me the history of South Africa too. And that's like some of the books I'm like reading about now. It's just like learning more about that. I think the other thing too is I didn't realize it was going to be so cloudy here and the weather.
Yeah, that surprised me as well. Overcast pretty much every day.
Yeah, and like actually having to wear a sweater and pants every day and stuff. So I think that was another part that was like unexpected.
But still with a really high UV index.
Yes.
Even though it's cloudy. I mean, if I was to stand up here with my shirt off, I'd be burnt in an hour.
I'm very grateful because I feel like the first few days some people got really burnt, and that made me realize being like, oh, yeah, high UV index. And I was like, sunscreen, no matter what, must put on sunscreen. So I'm glad I learned to realize that earlier in the month.
Who would you recommend this destination to? Like, what kind of person comes here and has the best time?
I mean, I think anyone in general, but I think specifically, I think people who would really, really enjoy this is someone who is seeking out more adventurous trips. It's, I mean, you're out in the desert, you can go camp in the car tent, which is an amazing experience, but you don't get much sleep. You go glamping. So I think it's really like, if you're someone who is looking for adventure and being outdoors and being one with the nature, I think this chapter, I also think Swakopmund, it is a little bit more of a sleepier town. Like even yesterday when we tried going to the wine bar at 9 p.m., it was closed. And so we're like, okay, where should we go? And everywhere was either closing at like 9:30 or 10. So it's definitely a sleepier town, which I personally have really enjoyed because it does allow you to just slow down a little bit during the week. And then it's basically like on the weekends, you're just like go, 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 go mode. And then the weekdays, it's like, okay, like breathe, enjoy, focus, do work. And for me, that's like it's actually what I'm looking for in this phase of my life where I am just wanting to still be like with people and going on adventures, but then using the time to just slow down and just enjoy the surroundings and be by the beach. So.
What do I need to know about you, like as a person, to understand, like, A, why you're here, and B, what you're about, like in life?
I think probably, honestly, I mean, it's like a two-part question, but like one, like my values, which I think I said earlier, of just like, in the end, my two values is like community and connection, and then exploring and adventure and just like growth in general. And I think if I'm able to find anything that aligns with those values, like I will feel very fulfilled and very happy. And I think the second part, which is more on like a deeper level, that I will honestly like talk more about when I am having one-on-one conversations, is just, I guess, like my journey as to like how I came to that realization of like what those, just like the journey that I had to go through or went through to realize what those values were. Because I think that was an exercise I had done in the pivotal moment in my life that then made me start doing all this traveling. So yeah, I think those two things.
What was the journey?
It's like basically it's what you were saying of like the hockey stick,
Yeah.
when you wake up and you realize of like, this isn't the life that I want to live.
Yeah.
And when I woke up and I realized that, it was then trying to figure out like, okay, well, if this isn't the life that I want to live, then what is it? And I think at that time in my life, I had only really felt like I lived one life, and I
Yes.
was only planning to continue on that one life. And when I decided that that wasn't what I wanted, I felt so lost in terms of like, okay, well, if this isn't it, then what is it? And
Yeah.
who am I? And what do I do? And
Yeah.
I think that was the moment too where I came to the realization, because I think at that time, with there being so much uncertainty, I was so anxious about it. I was so stressed, being like, I have to have the answer. Like, I need to figure this out now. But then at the same time, I think I was so burnt out from work
Yeah.
that I was just so like tired. And I was
Yeah.
like, why am I tired? Like, I should be able to like figure this out, and I should be able to find those answers. And then I think I was like, with me feeling so lost and trying to figure it out, that was when I did an exercise with my life coach of just like, what are your values? And when we did that exercise and we came down of like, these are my values, that was probably like the first step in terms of like what like grounded me of like, okay, I at least now know of like, this is what it's important, that this is what's important to me. And then just over time, lots of like extreme lows, lots of extreme highs.
Nice.
And then eventually coming out of it and looking back, I was so stressed, there was so much uncertainty, but then
Yeah.
coming out of it, I think, and being able to do this traveling and meeting all these people is so much more than I could have ever imagined back then. And that
Yeah.
was what made me realize, being like, you know, it actually might be more exciting to just trust the process,
Yeah.
because you might not even know what's going to come out of it. And what might come out of it might be even more amazing than you ever imagined. And that's what I like think about. I've looked back and I'm just like, and again, I'm like getting teary eyed, because like that was such like it was such a, I cry every time when I talk about this part, hence the one-on-one conversations. But it was just like, yeah, I look back on it, I'm just like, wow, like I'm just never imagined that this is a life that I could have lived. And I've never been so grateful for it. And that's what made me realize of just like, yeah, like you just need to believe in yourself, and you need to rest and relax. And as you kind of get that energy back, like
Yeah.
you'll be able to do so many things that
Yeah.
you like. If you asked me like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have never imagined myself being able to do this and stuff. So yeah, that's the second thing.
Wow, Hannah. Wow.
Damn. But yeah,
That's
So-
really inspiring.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
thanks.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, no, it was such a impactful moment for me, I think. And obviously it was like probably one of the most challenging times, but I think that's what reminded me of like what comes like, yeah, it was so worth it. Like I
Yeah.
have no regrets in terms of how I lived my life. I have no regrets in terms of just coming to the realization of like, this isn't what I want to do anymore. And
Yeah.
being able to go through that experience while it was so challenging and so difficult,
Yes.
it was so rewarding coming out of it. And
that's what I mean. That's like I'm trying to figure out right now. Like I'm in a transition period, and I don't know what my next step is. And I think I wouldn't put it past me of like, yeah, like I will probably have a lot of downs in my next phase or next step. But I think one difference from now versus last time is just like I'm just like everything's gonna be fine, and I know that I will be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it means in terms of what's gonna happen, but I at least know that there's a chance or an opportunity of like something incredible coming out of it. And I don't know what that is and what that means, but that's okay. And I think that's to me of like where so much growth can come, and it makes me excited for the first time. Whereas before I was like, oh my God, like what am I doing?
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, yeah, no, like I'm excited. Like I
Yeah.
want to face this
Yeah.
challenge. I
Yeah.
want to face this next step.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's like a new feeling for me. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this is cool.
Wow. I think this is the perfect place to draw our conversation to a close. I can totally see how your life has changed since you made that decision, you know, both to start traveling, but then to travel with the community. I can see the impact that that's had on your life, and it's really beautiful, and I appreciate you sharing and the courage that it takes to talk about the parts of the journey that are painful.
Oh, thank you. You make it very easy to just have conversations. I was like, I'm not gonna get emotional. I'll be cool, be fine. And then I was like, damn, Villain, you got me.
It's my gift.
I appreciate it. Gift accepted.
I appreciate you, Hannah. Thank you for the time. And I hope we'll catch up in Cape Town when you're there.
Please.
Many adventures to do, and you're more than welcome to come and visit Celine and I anytime.
And I will take you up on that offer.
Please do.
I'm very excited.
Okay, awesome.